Hi, good morning. Online people, can you please confirm my voice is audible or not? Yes, sir. Okay, hope my screen also visible. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so actually in our previous sessions, we are discussing about our BigQuery. Actually, in the first session of the BigQuery, we discussed about what is the BigQuery and what is the purpose of the BigQuery. Just we'll quickly recap what is the BigQuery, Andy. So simply we can able to say BigQuery is a cost-effective, serverless, auto-managed, multi-cloud, highly scalable, highly available, cloud-based data warehouse. And by using this BigQuery, what we can do here, we can able to handle very huge amount of data within the seconds or within the minutes. Okay. And on the same day, we discussed about what are the different properties we are having for the BigQuery. What is the cost-effective? What is the serverless? What is the auto-managed? What is the multi-cloud? All these are the topics we covered as part of our day one on the BigQuery. Okay. Now in the next session, what we discussed, we started the practicals by using the BigQuery. At that time, we discussed about how we can able to create the tables or how we can able to alter the tables from the console by using the commands and with the help of the SQL queries. How we can able to create the tables, how we can able to drop the tables, or how we can able to create the schema, how we can able to alter the schema. All those are the topics we discussed from the console by using the commands. And after that, we created the different types of the tables from the console. What types of tables we created? We created empty table, we created GCS table, and after that we created one more type of table called as a upload table. So here we uploaded table structure from local system file. And here what we have done in the GCS table, we uploaded table structure and data from GCS. So we created the empty table, we created the GCS table, and we created the upload table. In the GCS table and uploaded table, what we have done, we uploaded the table structure and data from a particular file. In the upload table, we have used the local system file, and coming to GCS table, we have used the file from the GCS. All these are the topics we covered practically as part of our previous session. Okay, now you try to give the answer. For example, if I want to create the table in the BigQuery console, what we have to do? First step, we need to open our GCP console. How to open the GCP console? Just give it as console.cloud.google.com. With that, you can able to open the GCP console, and within that, by using the navigation menu, you need to come to the BigQuery window, or from here by searching with the BigQuery, you can able to come to the BigQuery console. Now in the BigQuery console, if you want to create the schema, how to create the schema? How to create the schema? Just we need to click on compose a new query.
New query.
And here we can give the query called as, which query we have to give if you want to create the schema? Create schema name. With that you can able to create the schema. Once you are going to create the schema, where we can able to see the schema? In the left side panel, we can able to see the project name called as our project name Qt sample. Within this, we can able to see the schema, whatever we created. Once we are going to give the query called as create schema name. Whatever the schema which you are creating, that schema we can able to see in the left side panel. In the same way, if you want to create the table, how to create the table? Just we are going to use a query called as a create table command. After that, we need to provide the complete structure of the table. With that, we can able to create the table. Now, if you want to see the table, whether it is created or not, where we can able to see that information? Again, in the left side panel, under the project, under the database or under the data set, you can able to see all the tables, whatever we created. For example, if I'm going to see the sample Qt console, here we can able to see all the tables, whatever we created as part of our previous class. In the same way, after creation of the table, if you want to alter the table, what we can do here, we can use the command called as a alter command. So like this, by using the commands from the console, we can able to create the tables, or we can able to alter the tables, or we can able to create the schema also by depending on our requirement. Now, for example, instead of using the commands, I want to create the table directly. So what we can do here, or I want to create the schema first. What I can do? On top of the project, we need to click on the three dots. Here we can able to see the option called as a create data set. By click on this, we can able to create the data set directly from the console only. Instead of using the command, by using the console also, we can able to create the data set. If you want to create the data set beside the project, click on the three dots, click on create data set. With that, you can able to create the data set by depending on our requirement. In the same way, if you want to create the table from the console, how to create the table? From the console, I want to create the table. So what we can do? Beside the data set or beside the database, here we can able to see the three dots. Click on this. Here we can able to see option called as a create table. Click on this. Once you click on the create table, it is asking the multiple information or multiple inputs only. Here, by using this option, we can able to select what type of table you want to create. In the previous class, what tables we created? We created the empty table, we created the GCS table, we created the upload table. After that, I asked you to try to create the drive table. How many of you created drive table? Did anyone try? Okay. Yeah, some people tried and they are succeeded. Other people, I hope, not tried only. So it's also very simple. So if you want to create the drive table, what it means indirectly? In the if you are going to create the GCS table, you are creating the file in the GCS. By using that file, we are creating the structure and we are loading the data into the table. What about upload? We are maintaining file in the local system. From the local system file, you are creating the structure of the table and you are uploading the data into the table by using the option called as a upload. Now, in the same way, here we are having the fourth option called as a drive. What is the meaning of drive indirectly? It's nothing but our Google Drive only. In the Google Drive, you are going to maintain one file with the structure and with the data. By using that file, what we are doing here, you are going to create the tables in our BigQuery. Now to perform this operation, here we need to select the option called as a drive. So select the option called as a drive. See, once we are going to select the option as a drive, what it is asking? It is asking what is the path of your drive file only. So we need to provide the path here. But how to get the path of the drive file? If you see in my system, this is my Google Drive only. In my Google Drive, I am having a file called as a emp.csv file. So just we need to go to your drive, Google Drive, whatever the Google Drive account you are having, you need to go to your Google Drive. In that Google Drive, whatever the file you want to use, you need to select that file. So this is the file I want to use. I am selecting this file. After selecting the file, here you can able to see the options like this. You can see the download option. You can see the archival option. And here you can able to see one more option called as a copy link. Click on this copy link. So just we need to go to Google Drive. In the Google Drive, you need to select the file which you want to use to create the BigQuery table. After that, once we are going to select, it is going to enable the options like this. And here we can able to download the file, or we can delete the file, or we can able to copy the link of the file. Just copy the link and just paste it here. See, this is the complete path of the file. Now in this path, you need to understand, this is the value we can able to call it as a file ID. So what is this value? This is the value we can able to call it as a file ID. Okay, in this entire path, so whenever we are going to click on the copy link, what is happening here? It is giving this complete link of your file. In this complete link, after the d slash, whatever the value we are having, this value we can able to call it as nothing but our file ID. Okay. Now if you see, here they're asking the path, but if you click on this, how they're asking the path? They're asking it as a https://drive.google.com/open?id is equal to file ID. Now this is the way we need to give the path here. Just I'm copying this information. So in the BigQuery, what they're asking? They're asking file path in this format. Now in this format, so what is meant by file ID? In the above line we discussed, right? So this is the entire path we are copying from the Google Drive. After copying the entire path, in this path, whatever the value we are having after the d slash, this value only we can able to call it as a file ID. And so what I can do here, just I need to copy this file ID and I will put it here. What I'm doing, I am taking the what is the way we need to pass the path information. That information I'm taking from the BigQuery window. If you click on the question mark, here they are saying that we need to provide the path like this. Here what we have to replace, we need to replace the file ID value. How we can replace the file ID value? Before this step, what we have done, we taken the complete link of the file from the Google Drive. In this link, what I'm saying here, this is the value we can able to call it as a file ID. This file ID we are replacing in the actual path. With that, this is the path we need to provide on top of your BigQuery window. Okay, just I will repeat the steps only. So now what is the requirement? I want to take the file from the drive. I want to take the structure. I want to take the data also from the drive. If you want to do that operation, here we need to select the option called as a drive. After that, here we need to give the path of the file. From where we have to give the path? From the Google Drive, we have to give the path. But to give the path, here we need to follow one kind of template. What is the template we need to follow? This is the template we need to follow as per the BigQuery requirement. We have to give the template like this. Now in this template, this is the constant value, but only what is the value we have to change? We need to change the value called as a file underscore ID. For your file, you are going to have a file underscore ID. That value we need to pass here. But from where we can able to get the file underscore ID? From where we need to get file underscore ID. For this, what we are doing, we need to go to our Google Drive. There, select the file. Above, click on copy link option. On top, what we are doing here, we are going to click on the copy link option. Just I'm going to my Google Drive one more time. So here I selected the file called as a emp.csv. Above we can able to see option called as a copy link. So just click on this. After that, just I'm pasting it into my notepad. Now here this is the complete path of the file, but we need to give the complete path, or we need to take the only file ID here. I need to take the only file ID on this entire path, and that's the reason just I'm copying this information. Now where we need to put this information? In the previous step, we taken the path, in which path, what kind of path we need to provide in the BigQuery. In this, just we are replacing the file underscore ID with our file ID. So this is the way we need to understand what is the path we need to provide as part of using our drive ID. Now this path I'm going to copy. Now here I am given the path of the file. It's very simple. Only thing is nothing but we need to give the path of the file as per the BigQuery requirement. Here they are asking us to give the path like this. In this path, just what we are doing, we are replacing the file ID with our actual file ID. With that, you can able to provide the path. Now next one, we need to specify the file format. Whatever the file I'm using here, that is the CSV file ID. So here I'm selecting it as a CSV file. Now after that, next we need to give the same options, whatever we discussed in the previous class. You need to give the project, I'm giving it as a Qt sample. We need to give the data set, I'm giving it as a sample Qt. I'm giving it as a sample Qt console. So this is the one of the database we created, sample Qt console, because we are doing all these activities from the console. Just for our understanding, here I'm given the database name is nothing but sample Qt console. Okay. After that, we need to provide the table name. Here I'm given the table name as employee drive. Why I'm giving the drive? Just for my understanding only, because this is the table we are creating by using the drive file. That's the reason I am given the table name is nothing but employee drive. Okay. After that, here what option we need to select? I want to detect the schema automatically, which is nothing but I want to detect the column names automatically. I want to get the data types automatically. If you are having that requirement, what we can do here? Just we need to click on the auto detect. For example, you want to give the column names manually, then what we can do? We need to click on this plus symbol. By click on the plus symbol, we can able to give the structure manually. But here my requirement is I want to get the structure automatically from the file. That's the reason here we can able to select the option called as a auto detect. After that, just to go to advanced options. In the advanced options, we have to select header rows to skip. How many rows you want to skip? I want to skip only one row here. So I'm giving this value as a 1. After that, click on create table. Before click on the create table, just I'm going to repeat quickly all the things only. First one, we need to select the drive. Next one, we need to give the path of the file by using the file ID. After that, we need to select the type of the file. Here we are using the CSV file. After that, we need to give the database name and we need to give the table name. And in the advanced options, we are giving skip the first row. We are giving the value as a 1. By giving all these things, just click on the create table. So it is given the error saying that failed to create the table, not found. So this path is not founding. Just 1 second. I will check it once. Okay. So actually earlier I given the wrong path and for that reason it given the error. So I modified the path properly. So with that path, what's happening here? Whatever the proper path we given, it created the table. Now, if you want to see the table, where we can able to see? Again, in the left side panel, under the database, here we can able to see the table name. So what is the table which we created? I created the table called as a employee drive table. Just click on this. See, automatically it taken the structure of the table by using the file, and here you can able to see the data types also, because we given the option called as a auto detect, and that's the reason whenever we are given the auto detect, automatically what's happening here, it is taking the data types by using the data whatever we are having in the file. So this is the way simply we can able to create the tables by using the Google Drive files also, by depending on the requirement. Earlier we created the table from the console, we created the table by using the GCS file, we created the table by using the upload file. Today what we are doing here, we are creating a table by using the Google Drive option. So by using different ways we can able to create the tables as per our requirement. But if you observe here we are having the schema, but here we are not getting the any preview option. Did you notice this? For example, I am going to console table. Here you can able to see the preview option, and if you go to the employee GCS table, here also you can able to see the preview option. And if you go to employee upload table, here also you can able to see the option called as a preview. But coming to Google Drive table, whatever we created, here we are not seeing the any option called as a preview. For Google Drive related tables, we cannot able to see preview option. Why? So why, we'll discuss in few minutes, Sandy. So just try to notice this statement here. What I'm telling, whenever we are going to create the tables from the Google Drive, then what is happening here? Here you cannot able to see the preview option, but my requirement is I want to see the data in the Drive table. How we can able to see the data? Any guess? Here we don't have the preview option, but I want to see the data in this table. How we can able to see? Just click on the three dots beside the table name. You can click on the query.
Write the query.
And here automatically your query is populating like this. Just what we can do here, just give it as a select star from the table. Otherwise, what's the one more option? If you want to open the query window, just go here, click on the SQL workspace. With that, you can able to open the query window. In that query window, you can able to type the query, select star from the table by depending on our requirement. And now, if I'm going to run this query, you can able to see the data on your output like this. Okay, this is the way simply you can able to create the table by using the Drive also, by depending on the requirement. Only thing we need to understand why it is not displaying the preview option. Other than that, we discussed about all other things as part of creation of the table by using the Drive. Okay, now overall we discussed about how to create the empty table, how to create the GCS table, how to create the upload table, and how to create the Drive table. Now we'll try to understand why this preview option is not coming. First one, why preview option not showing? This is first thing. Now, if you want to understand this information, first we need to understand what is native table, and second thing we need to understand what is external table. So if you want to understand why preview option not showing, and so what we need to understand first here, we need to understand the what is meant by native table and what is meant by external table. But tell me where we are seeing these options as part of creation of the table, if you remember.
We are creating the table.
Just I will click on the again create table here. We set the data here. Click on create table. So whenever we are going to click on the create table, if you notice what it is asking, it is asking the table type. In the table type, what is the option we are having here? Native table. If you remember in the day before yesterday's session when we are discussing, Andy, I asked you to remember few points. Whenever we are given the empty table, what is the option it is showing? Only native table. Okay. Now, for example, if I'm going to select the GCS, which is nothing but Google Cloud Storage, at that time we discuss one more point. Whenever we are selecting the Google Storage, here in the table type, what options it is showing? It is showing both native table and external table. In the same way, if I'm going to select upload table, here it is showing the only native table. Again, if I'm going to select Drive table, in the Drive table, see what option we are showing? We are getting the only external table, which is nothing but by depending on the type of the table we are selecting, automatically here it is changing the type of the table also. And for few type of the tables, it is showing only native. For few type of tables, it is showing only external. For few type of tables, it is showing both native and also external. On that day, I told you, please remember those statements, Andy. Now, today we'll try to understand why it is behaving like this, or we'll try to understand what is meant by native table and what is meant by external table. Now, you try to give the answer for first question. I am creating empty table in BigQuery. After that, I am inserting the data. So what we did as part of creation of the empty table, first step, we created the empty table in the BigQuery. After creation of the empty table in the BigQuery, what we are doing here, we are inserting the data into this table. Now tell me where this data will store. Any guesses?
GCS
Whatever the data we are inserting into the BigQuery by using the insert command, where this data is going to store.
GCS bucket.
Someone is saying GCP bucket.
It is storing internal BQ dataset database.
Is it correct answer? What I'm telling here, this is the empty table. As part of creation of the empty table, who is given the structure? As a user, you are given the structure manually. Who is inserting the data? As a user, you are inserting the data manually. In this whole process, are we defining any GCS path? No, right? Indirectly, you are given the structure of the table. You are inserting the data into this BigQuery, which is nothing but this data is not storing in the GCS bucket only. This data is going to store in our BigQuery storage. So actually, as part of BigQuery, we are going to get the two features only. One is nothing but you are going to get the compute feature, and also we are going to get the storage feature. So whenever we are going to use the BigQuery, what type of features we are getting? You are getting the compute feature, and also you are going to get the storage feature. What is meaning of compute? Whatever the queries we are running by using aggregate functions or any other kind of operations, and it will execute all those operations in the internal BigQuery system. That kind of operations we can able to call it as a compute operation. What is meant by storage? Whenever we are inserting the data or loading the data, that data has to store somewhere, right? So where the data is storing, within the BigQuery also we are having the storage option. Within the BigQuery only your data is going to store, Andy. Now tell me, what is the purpose of GCS? This is for compute or only for storage?
Only for storing objects.
Storage. Now what is the purpose of BigQuery? We can able to say this is for storage and also compute. For both the things we can able to use the BigQuery. Now coming back to previous question, Andy, here what I'm doing here, we are given the structure of the table manually in the BigQuery. After that, we are inserting the data manually into the BigQuery. Now where this data is going to store? This whole data is going to store in the system called as a BigQuery storage. Okay. Now I will ask one more question. Try to give the answer. I am creating GCS table in BigQuery. Okay. After creating the table from the GCS, do we need to load any data? First question. You are creating the GCS table. What it means indirectly, you are having a file in the GCS system, GCS service. By using that file, you are creating the table in the BigQuery. In this process, do we need to load any data separately?
No.
Answer is simply we can able to say no. Now my question is, in this process where data is storing, try to give the answer. While creating the GCS type of table from the BigQuery, we are maintaining one file in the GCS. By using that file, you are uploading the structure and also you are uploading the data into the BigQuery. Now in this whole process, where data is storing? Any guesses?
It will store in GCS as well as in BigQuery.
Store in GCS. Okay. Any other questions? Any other answers? Someone is saying GCS and also BigQuery. Any other answers?
If we are just referring the file, means don't need to store in the BigQuery. Just we can use the.
Someone is saying only BigQuery. What's the correct option? Correct answer here. So it's very simple. And so see here, whenever we are going to create the GCS table in the BigQuery, actually where we are having the file in the GCS, we are having the file. Now what will happen is, as part of creation of the GCS table in the BigQuery, what will happen is this whole data will load again into BigQuery storage. What is happening here? You are having the data in the GCS already. But if you are going to create the GCS table in the BigQuery, what is happening here? Whatever the data we are trying to load, the data is loading into your BigQuery storage, and which is nothing but, now you tell me, overall, in this process where we are having the data, you are having data in GCS, where we are having data in the GCS, whatever the file you are using, in that file we are having the data. At the same time, we are having the data in the BigQuery storage also. As part of creation of the GCS table, what is happening here? You are maintaining the data in the GCS system in the file format. At the same time, when we are creating the table in the BigQuery, what is happening here? The data is storing into the BigQuery storage also. But tell me here, maintaining data in GCS and BigQuery storage. Really, is it required?
No.
To maintain data 2 times. So where we are maintaining data 2 times? Where we are maintaining? In the GCS, in the file you are having the data. Once you are going to create the table, what I'm telling here, all the data is loading into the BigQuery storage, which is nothing but same data you are having in the GCS, same data you are maintaining in the BigQuery also. Indirectly, what we are doing? You are maintaining same copies of data into the 2 locations, and one is in the GCS and one is in the BigQuery storage. But tell me, really, is it required to maintain the data in the 2 times or 2 places? It's not required,
Yes.
Not required.
Like
It's
because I
not
have question.
required. So see here, we can able to say in real-time projects, sometimes we need to maintain data at both places, and sometimes we need to maintain data at only one place. So by depending on the requirement, what we can do here, sometimes in the real-time projects, we are going to maintain the same data in the GCS and also into the BigQuery. Otherwise, what we can do here, you can able to maintain the data in the only one place only. But what is that place here we can able to say?
BigQuery.
GCS. What's the reason? Here, what type of table you are creating? You are creating the GCS table. If you are going to create the GCS table, compulsory where we have to maintain the data? In the GCS. Without having data in the GCS, we cannot able to create the GCS table, and that's the reason. If you want, we can able to maintain the data in the both the places. Otherwise, what we can do here, you can able to maintain the data only one place called as a GCS only. Now, for example, if I am going to maintain only data in GCS, then how BigQuery can able to populate data with select statement?
By using the external table option.
See here, if I am going to maintain only data in the GCS, then how BigQuery can able to populate the data with the select statement? What will happen here is, in this situation, BigQuery will fetch data from GCS instead of BigQuery storage. So please try to understand each and every statement, and here what we are telling, we are creating the empty table. If you are going to create the empty table, do we have any data in the GCS? No, which is nothing but whenever we are going to create the empty table where data is loading into the BigQuery storage, whenever I'm given the select statement, from where it is fetching the data? From the BigQuery storage only, because here we are creating the empty table. For that reason, here we don't have any other kind of option, and but as part of creation of the GCS table, where we are having the actual data, in the GCS we are having the actual data. Now what I'm telling here, whenever we are going to create the GCS table, actually what's happening here, your data is present in the GCS. At the same time, your data is loading into your BigQuery storage also. Then I'm raising the one more question. Really, is it necessary to maintain same data in the both the places? It's not required. Now, for example, I don't want to maintain the data in the BigQuery storage. We are maintaining data only in the GCS system. In that situation, if I am going to give the select statement, then what is going to happen? Whatever the data we are giving, all the data is fetching from the only GCS instead of the BigQuery storage, and but here question is overall how we can able to handle all above scenarios. how we can able to handle all above scenarios in the BigQuery. For example, my question is GCS table need to fetch data from BigQuery storage. Second option is my requirement is GCS table need to fetch data from GCS file. Third requirement is while creation of the table, I don't want to load data into BigQuery storage. So this is the summary of whatever we are discussing in the above statements. Now what is my requirement? GCS table need to fetch the data from the BigQuery storage, only from BigQuery storage. That is one requirement. This is the first requirement. Second requirement, GCS table need to fetch the data only from GCS file. This is my second requirement. Third requirement is while creation of the table, I don't want to load the data into my BigQuery storage. So like this, I am having the different types of the requirements. Now see here, out of all these requirements, BigQuery is depending on any external system. In which requirement? BigQuery is depending on external service. If you see the second requirement here, what is happening? GCS table need to fetch the data from the GCS file. Now tell me, GCS service is a external service or internal service of the BigQuery? GCS service is a kind of a external service of the BigQuery. So BigQuery is a one service, GCS is a one more service. Both are the two different services. If we are discussing from the BigQuery perspective, what we can able to say? GCS is a external service. Now in this second requirement, what I'm telling, GCS table need to fetch the data only from the GCS file. Indirectly, you want to fetch the data from the GCS service. Indirectly, you want to fetch the data from the external service. Now, to handle this kind of requirements only, here we are going to create the type of tables called as a external tables. It's very simple. Whenever you are depending on the external storage location or whenever you are depending on the external service to load the data or to retrieve the data, such kind of tables, what we can able to call, simply we can able to call it as a external tables. Just I will add the statement. While dealing with BigQuery tables, if you are depending on external services to fetch the data, such kind of tables we can call it as external tables. So what I'm telling here, while dealing with the BigQuery tables, which is nothing but whatever the BigQuery table you are going to create, after creation of the table, as part of fetching the data, if you are depending on the external service or external system, such kind of tables, what we can able to call here, we can able to call it as a external table. If you see the second requirement here, what I'm telling, GCS, sorry, here my mistake, I say BigQuery table. Yeah. So BigQuery table need to fetch the data from where? BigQuery table need to fetch the data only from the GCS file. Now BigQuery table indirectly depending on what? Your GCS file, which is present in the GCS service, which is nothing but one of the external service. Now to handle this kind of requirement, what type of table we need to create? We need to create the type of the table called as nothing but external table, because I want to deal the data from the external service. For that reason, we need to create the type of the table called as nothing but external table. Okay. Now try to give the answer here. In the first requirement, what type of table we need to create? BigQuery table need to fetch the data only from the BigQuery storage.
Native table.
Now BigQuery storage is present within the BigQuery or outside of the BigQuery? Within the BigQuery only we are having the BigQuery storage, and which is nothing but here indirectly we are going to create the type of table called as nothing but native tables, or we can able to call it as a internal tables. By seeing the name only you can able to understand internal is nothing but within the system only you are maintaining all the data. From the within the system only we are fetching the data also. That's the reason whenever we are having this kind of requirement, what we are doing here, we are going to create the type of the table called as a native table, or we are going to create the type of the table called as a internal table. Just I'm going to give the statement like this. Are you telling me I'm copying the same statement? What's the modification we need to perform? While dealing with the BigQuery tables, if you are not depending on any external services, or if we are fetching data from BigQuery storage itself. If we are fetching the data from the BigQuery storage itself, such kind of tables we can able to call it as nothing but internal tables. So whenever we are going to fetch the data, if we are depending on BigQuery storage, then such kind of tables we can able to call it as a internal tables. And now, for example, while fetching the data, if you are depending on the external services, then what we can do here, that such kind of tables we can able to call it as a external tables. Okay, up to here, any confusions or questions, please ask me.
Sir, external table means that you are saying we need to refer the data from the external storage,
Exactly.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So there is.
Yeah. So whenever you are trying to fetch the data, if you are referring the external services, such kind of tables we can able to call it as a external tables. Whenever you are trying to fetch the data, if you are referring the BigQuery storage, such kind of tables only we can able to call it as a internal tables. Okay. Any other questions? Now tell me here, you try to give the answer if you know, if you don't have any questions, Andy. In this third requirement, what kind of table we need to create? In this third requirement, what is the third requirement? While creation of the table, I don't want to load any data into my BigQuery storage, Andy. Now in this situation, what type of table we need to create?
External only.
I
just
don't want to
the-
depend on the BigQuery storage. Whenever you are not depending on the BigQuery storage, that kind of table, what we are calling? We are calling it as a external table. So which is nothing but in this third requirement, what we can do here, we need to create the type of the table called as a external table. This is the way simply we can understand in all the three different types of requirements, what type of table we need to create. If you want to depend only on the BigQuery storage, then we are going to create the type of table called as a internal table. If you are depending on the GCS file, then we are creating the type of the table called as a external table. Now, if you are fetching the data only from the BigQuery storage, or if you are not depending on the BigQuery storage only, then we are going to create the type of the table called as a external table. Okay. Now, just for simple understanding, I will say use the statement like this: external table not depending on BigQuery storage. Internal tables depending on BigQuery storage. In the very simple words, if you want to understand, we can able to say external tables are not depending on the BigQuery storage. What about the internal tables, Andy? Internal tables depending on the BigQuery storage. This is the way in the simple words we can able to understand what is meant by external table or what is meant by internal table. Same internal tables we can able to call it as a native tables, or we can able to call it as a managed tables also. So these are the different naming conventions, Andy. Either you can able to call it as a native table, or we can able to call it as a internal tables, or we can able to call it as a managed tables. All these three are nothing but same only. All these three are depending on the BigQuery storage. What about the external table? It is not depending on the BigQuery storage. This is the way simply we can understand what is meant by external table and what is meant by internal table. Still, if you are having any questions, please ask me.
Sir, point 2 and 3 are the same, right? But only while creation we need to point out the GCS.
Yes, correct. And so point 2 and 3 indirectly same, but just for understanding, I differentiate the requirement here. But indirectly we can able to say point 2 and point 3 both are same only.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions?
Sir, do we get any performance wise issue?
That will discuss. Yeah, that will discuss. So actually, so when we are going to maintain the two types of the table, definitely we need to understand when we need to go for external table, when we need to go for internal table. We'll discuss all those things. But before going to there, first we need to understand what is meant by external table, what is meant by internal table. Up to here, any questions or confusions? Is clear, right? Now, if it is clear, you try to give the answer. What are the types of tables we created so far? One is empty table. Second one, we created the GCS table. Third one, we created
Google
the upload table.
Fine.
Next one, we created the drive table. Other than this, if you remember, we are having the AWS S3 table. And next, we are having the Azure blob storage table. Okay. Now, like this, we are having the different options, right? In our console, and in the console, we saw all these kind of different options. Now, you try to give the answer here. For example, here I'm selecting empty table. When I'm selecting the empty table, it is displaying only one option called as a native table. Now you try to give the answer why it is displaying the only native table when we are selecting the option called as empty table. What's the reason? As part of empty table, who is given the structure? You are given the structure. Who is inserting the data? You are inserting the data. Now you are inserting the data where the data is storing. That data is storing in the big data storage, BigQuery storage, and indirectly as part of empty table. Are we depending on any external service? No. Now you tell me, while creation of the empty table, can we able to create the external table? No, because as part of empty table, there are no chances to depend on the external table, external systems. That's the reason here you cannot able to create any kind of external table. That's the reason whenever we are selecting the empty table, it is displaying only one option called as a native table. Indirectly, what it means? Whenever we are going to create the empty table, or whenever we are loading the data into the empty table, the data where it will store? That data is storing in the BigQuery storage. For that reason, empty tables, we can able to create it as a only native tables. Whenever we are going to create that empty table, we cannot able to give it as a external table, because here we cannot able to get the data from the external services. That's the reason as part of empty table, here we can able to create only native tables. We can create only native tables. Now in the same way, coming to GCS table, any guesses what is the option we can able to see for the GCS table?
Both options.
I am selecting GCS table here. Now, once I'm going to select the GCS, if you observe here, it is showing native and also it is showing external. But how it is possible? Whenever we are selecting the GCS, what it means indirectly? You are indirectly depending on the external service. If we are depending on the external service, that kind of table, what we are calling? We are calling it as a external table. Then why they given the option called as a native table also?
Because we are loading data internal BQ storage.
For example,
BQ storage also.
As part of GCS tables, we are having the two options. One is the native table, and second one is external tables. Now you try to give the answer. If I am going to create a GCS table by using the option called as a native table, what is going to happen in the internal BigQuery system? You are creating the GCS table by using the table type called as a native table. If I am going to select this option, what is going to happen? Will it load
stored in
data into
BigQuery?
BigQuery storage? Answer is yes or no.
Yes. Yes.
You are selecting it as a GCS table. You are having the file in the GCS system, Google Cloud Storage Service. You are having the file. But here I am trying to create the type of the table called as a native table. Once we are going to create the type of the table called as a native table, will it load the data into the BigQuery storage?
Yes. Native means it will load into.
Yes. Why? Yes. What is the meant by native table? Native tables are completely depending on the BigQuery storage. For that reason, if you are going to create the GCS table as a native table, what is going to happen? Your data is going to load into the BigQuery storage. Now tell me, if you are going to create the GCS table as a native table, in how many places we are having the data? You are having the data here, the two places. What are those? One is in the GCS service. Second one, in the BigQuery storage also we are going to maintain the data, because here we are creating the type of the table as a native table. Now, for example, I am creating the GCS table as a external table. Same question I am asking one more time. Will it load the data into the BigQuery storage? Answer is yes or no?
No.
Answer is
no.
What's the reason? External tables are depending on the BigQuery storage, or external tables are depending on the external service. It is depending on the external service. Here, which external service we are using? GCS service. For that reason, as part of creation of the GCS table, if you are going to create the external table, what is happening here?
The data will be stored in
is
GCS.
Not loading into the BigQuery storage. Now, some people can got the question. So, then how BigQuery table can able to fetch the data here? In the BigQuery storage, we don't have any data. Now, in this situation, from where it is going to fetch the data?
From
GCS.
From the
GCS table.
GCS file, it is going to fetch the data and so that's the reason here we can able to see the two options as part of GCS table. One is the native table, one is the external table. Now you tell me, whenever we are going to create the GCS table, whether we need to give the native table or external table, or we can give anything by depending on the requirement.
Anything
Depending on the
Depending
requirement.
on your requirement, either you can give it as a native table or we can give it as a external table only by depending on your requirement. And if, for example, you don't have any kind of issues to maintain the duplicate data, then which option you need to select? I don't have any issues to maintain the duplicate data in the GCS and also in the BigQuery storage. And then which option we can able to select? You can select the option called as a native table. For example, I am having some problem. I don't want to maintain the duplicate data. In the situation, what we can do here? Simply we are going to maintain the external table, because if we are going to maintain the external table, then where data is storing? Data is storing only in the GCS. Your data is not storing in the BigQuery storage. And this is the way we need to understand when we need to go for native table or when we need to go for the external table as part of creation of the GCS table. Okay. Any question up to here again, please ask me. Try to focus on what is native table, what is external table, and definitely I will cover what are the advantages of native table, what are the advantages of the external table. First, to try to understand what is native table, what is external table. Then try to understand if we are creating the empty table, what type of table it is creating. If we are creating the GCS table, what type of table it is creating. Try to understand one by one.
Sir, in real time, like we are getting data from the sources, okay?
Yes.
So at that time, we will use the external table, okay? So in some cases, the source team will delete that file. So at that time, what we
in the situation, can we able to use the external table? You only tell me the answer.
Because
so someone is asking a question like this, Andy. From the source system, we are getting the data into, for example, GCS service. From the source system, they are placing all the data into the GCS service. But here we are creating the type of table as a external table. And he is raising the question. Now, my source people are deleting the data from GCS. Now tell me, as part of this whole requirement, selecting the external table is a good option or selecting the internal table is a good option?
External is not a good option.
We can able to say simply, external table is not good choice. What's the reason?
Because they are deleting the data.
What's happening? In the source system, my source team is deleting the data on top of the GCS system. And so whenever we are going to create the external table, what is happening? It is trying to fetch the data from the GCS location. But if I am going to delete the file from the GCS also, then from where it can able to fetch the data? From nowhere it can able to fetch the data. And indirectly in the GCS system, regularly if you are going to delete the data, then what type of table we need to create here in this kind of requirements? We need to create the internal table. That is the good choice. That's why I'm saying that by depending on the type of the requirement, we need to choose the external table or we need to choose the internal table. Here someone is asking the question, my source team keeping all the data in the GCS and regularly they are deleting the data also. If that data is going to delete, what will happen? If you are going to create the external table, you cannot able to fetch the data. For that reason, to handle this kind of requirements in the real time, what type of table we are creating? We are creating the type of the table called as a internal table. Okay, is it clear? Who more asked this question?
Yes,
okay.
Sir, one more question, sir. When we are using external table, the files are in which format? And so it is .dt or .txt or anything.
No, you can select anything. So even if you are going to use the internal table or external table, your type of file can be anything. You can give it as a CSV file or you can give it as a Parquet file, because whenever we are going to select the any type of the file, your options are not going to change. For example, here I am selecting external table. See what file formats we are having. You can able to take the any kind of format. For internal or external, there is no difference in the file formats. And the only thing is nothing but from where it is fetching the data, only that is the difference between the internal table and external table. Okay. Yeah. Now see here, as part of uploading the one more type of table called as a upload table. If you see the upload table, which option they are saying?
Only internal.
They are giving only native table. Any cases, what is the reason? Upload table is nothing but from where you are uploading the file. From your local system. Now tell me, local system is a cloud or it's a on-premise?
On-premise.
On-premise. And that's the reason here they have given the option called as a native. They given only one option as a Internal table. Now tell me indirectly, as part of creation of the upload table, where your data is storing? Data is
BigQuery.
storing in the
BigQuery
BigQuery storage.
storage.
And tell me whether we are going to maintain data in the both the places or not. On-premise, we have to maintain the file. At the same time, we need to maintain the data in the BigQuery storage also. We cannot able to control that option. But when you are going to create the GCS table, here you can control by depending on the requirement. Either you can able to maintain the native table or we can able to maintain the external table by depending on our requirement. But if it is an upload table, compulsory what we have to do here, you have to maintain the table as a internal table only, because we don't have any other option to maintain this table as a external table. Now in the same way you try to give the answer. Coming to drive table, any guess what will happen? We'll see that.
Native only.
What's happening? It is showing only one option as a external table, and what it means indirectly.
You cannot store data in BigQuery.
It is
The BigQuery only
showing
is
only external table option. What it means indirectly? Where data is storing?
Data is stored in drive only.
Data is storing only in the drive. What is the meaning of external table? External tables are not depending on the cloud storage only. That's the reason here what is happening whenever we are going to create the drive table. Here we are having the only one option called as a external table. We don't have two options only. For GCS we are having the two options. One is the internal table, other one is the external table. But coming to drive table, what is happening here? It is showing the only one option called as a external table. What is the meaning of external table? It is not storing the data into your BigQuery storage only. That's the reason, if you observe here. Earlier we created the drive table. That is the reason here you cannot able to see the preview option. Now earlier we discussed this statement, right? As part of creation of the drive table, here we are not seeing the preview option. Now you try to give the answer why it is not showing the preview option.
We don't have data.
Because
internal.
whenever you are going to create the drive table, by default, that table is going to create it as a external table. When your table is creating it as external table, that data is not available in the BigQuery storage only. When data is not available in the BigQuery storage, in the BigQuery window, here can be able to see the preview option? No. But if you want to fetch the data, what we can do here, you can able to do the query called as a select a star from employee dive table only. Now what will happen? You can able to see the data by given the I will show you that. Yes, see here what is the query given? Select star from employee drive table. By using this query, we are going to get the data. Now you tell me this data is coming from where? This data is coming from the BigQuery storage, or this data is directly coming from the drive? This data is coming from the drive, because drive tables are by default creating it as a external table, which is nothing but your data not loading in the BigQuery storage only. That's the reason here you cannot able to see the preview option. That is one thing. Second thing, if you want to see the data of the drive table, compulsory we have to give the query called as nothing but select star from the table. Once we are given the select star from the table, from where it is fetching the data? It is not fetching the data from the BigQuery storage. It is fetching the data from the drive. This is the way we need to understand why it is not displaying the preview option on top of your employee drive table. Okay. Now see, for example, I am selecting employee console. This is the empty table. Now see, for this empty table, are we seeing the preview option? Yes. What it means indirectly? This table data, where it's stored? In the BigQuery storage. In the same way, employee GCS. What is meant by employee GCS? I given the naming convention as a GCS, which is nothing but this table I created from the GCS file only. But why it is showing it as a preview here?
We have created internal.
In the GCS, how many options we are having? Two options. Now, as part of creation of this GCS table, I given the option called as a native table, and for that reason, that data loaded into the BigQuery storage. For that reason, it is showing the option called as a preview. In the same way, what about upload? As we discussed, upload tables are by default creating it as a native table. For that reason, here also we can able to see the option called as a preview. Now, only for drive table, we cannot able to see the option called as a preview only, because these are the by default creating it as a external table. That's the reason here we cannot able to see the preview option. Okay. Now, just I will ask one question, try to give the answer. I am creating GCS table as external table. Now tell me, can we able to see preview option in console?
No.
Try to give the answer. I am
No, sir.
creating GCS
No,
table
sir.
as a external table because in the GCS we are having the two options only. One is the native, other one is the external. Now I am creating the GCS table as a external table. When you are going to create the GCS table as a external table, in the console window, can we able to see the preview option for that table?
No.
What is the answer? Answer is
No.
no. Why?
Just we are
Here,
getting
data
data from
not storing in BigQuery storage. Why data is not storing in the BigQuery storage? Because
given
you
the
are selecting this
external
table
option.
as a external table. Whenever we are selecting the table as a external table, it won't load the data into our BigQuery storage. And for that reason, here we can able to say, whenever we are going to create the GCS table as a external table, then you cannot able to see the preview option on the console. Okay, quickly we'll see that information here practically. Okay, tell me how we need to create the GCS table quickly. Hope everyone did the practice on all these things already. With that assumption, you tell me how to create the GCS table.
Go to the
Beside
data
the schema, click on the three dots. Here, click on create table.
Table.
Once you click on the create table, here we need to select which type of table. Google Cloud
Google
table.
Cloud.
After that, here we need to give the
Upload
path. How to give the path? Click on browse.
Browse. Select that.
This is my bucket. In this bucket, I'm having the emp.csv file. Click on select.
Okay.
After that, what is the file format we have to give?
CSV
CSV only. And after that, I'm given the project name and data set. Here I'm given the table name is employee GCS. For understanding purpose, I'm giving it as a external and employee GCS external. That is the naming convention I'm giving for my understanding. Now here, what type of table we need to select as per the requirement? I'm selecting it as a external. Okay. And after that, here I want to select the schema auto by using the auto detect option. Select the click on the auto detect. After that, go to advanced options. Here I'm giving header rows to skip is 1, for example. After that, click on create table. Okay, now see what happened. Your external table has been created. What is the table name of external table? Employee GCS external table. Click on this. Once you click on this, here you can able to see. Do we have any preview option? No, because here external we given it as a external table. Whenever we are giving it as a external table, as part of creation of the table, it will not load the data into your BigQuery storage. For that reason, here we cannot able to see the preview option. Okay. Now in the same way, here I am selecting the option called as a Amazon S3 only. Now tell me, when we are going to select the option as a Amazon S3, now any cases, what type of table it is going to create?
External table.
By default, that is allowing only the external table. Why it is not allowing the native table here? Because here we are completely dealing with the external cloud system. And what is happening here? Here we are completely dealing with the external cloud system. That's the reason here they are not giving any option called as a native table. Here directly they are giving the option called as a external table. In the same way, if you are going to select the Azure option, any cases?
Same.
It is also completely external cloud only. For that reason, here also you can able to see only one option called as a external table. Just will capture that information here. It will allow only external tables. And here also we can able to say it will allow only external table. This is the way we need to understand what type of tables we can able to create in the BigQuery and what type of tables it is allowing as part of creation of the BigQuery tables. And now overall, out of all these things, in what type of tables we can able to create the external tables? One is in the GCS table, we can able to create the external table. And next one, in the drive table, we can able to create the external table, or in the S3 table, we can able to create the external table, or in the Azure blob storage, we can able to create the external table. And now, in what situations we can able to create the native tables or internal tables? In what situations we can able to create the native tables or internal tables? One is empty table, other one is GCS table, and third one is upload tables also. And actually, this is the one of the interview question.
So then what about Google Big Table?
We will serve that when we will check it. So someone is asking what about the Google Big Table? It is not at all giving anything, but coming to Google Big Table also, it will give option as a both internal and external. What is the reason? Google BigTable is the one more GCP service, and for that reason, it will give the option as a both internal table and external table, but it is not showing in the options here. But we can able to do that activity after completion of discussing about the Google BigTable. Then I will repeat this topic one more time, and how we can able to create the BigQuery table by using the BigTable option. Okay.
Sir, regarding this one, the cost effective is more, right, compared to native.
Yeah, I will tell you what are the advantages of
Okay.
internal table, what's the disadvantages of external table. All those things we'll discuss in
Okay.
few minutes. Okay.
Okay. Thank
In what kind of BigQuery tables it will create internal tables? This is one question. Other question is in what kind of BigQuery tables it will create the external tables. Okay, already we discussed about these two questions, Andy. By using this list, you can able to say in what situations in the BigQuery it is going to create the internal table, in what situations in the BigQuery it is going to create the external table. So these two are the kind of interview questions. That's the reason only we are spending this much of time on top of this entire topic. Otherwise, what I can able to say, simply I can give the two statements, Andy. Internal table is not depending on internal table is depending on the BigQuery storage. External table is not depending on the BigQuery storage. By putting those two lines of statement, I can go to the next topic. But why we are spending this much of time? Because from the interview perspective, this is one of the important topic. At the same time, as part of real time also, we need to understand what is meant by internal table, what is meant by external table. That's the reason we are spending this much of time on top of our external tables and internal tables. Okay. Now, just I will ask one last question. Try to give the answer. What is meant by external table? What is meant by internal table? That is our main topic, right?
Yes.
Might be you will forget after discussing all these things. That's the main topic. What is meant? What is the external table? What is the internal table?
Internal table means the data will be stored in the BigQuery storage.
As part of internal table, what is happening here? Whenever we are going to create the big tables, your data is storing in the BigQuery storage, and as part of retrieving also, data is coming from the BigQuery storage only. For that reason, such kind of tables we can able to call it as a internal tables. What about external tables? As part of external tables, whenever we are going to create the table, data not loading in the BigQuery storage, retrieval also not happening from the BigQuery storage. And for that reason, such kind of tables we can able to call it as a external table. Just for understanding, just I will add the two more statements here. External tables, data loading and fetching both not happen on BigQuery storage. Coming to internal tables, data loading and fetching both will happen on BigQuery storage only. So same statement I'm repeating in the different ways, and if you observe overall, we are saying that again, external table is not depending on the BigQuery storage and the internal tables are not depending on the BigQuery storage, and but same statement I'm putting in the different ways, because as part of interviews also they will try to confuse you. That's the reason just we are putting the same statement in the different ways. Here what I'm telling, as part of external table, data loading and fetching both not happen on the BigQuery storage, and coming to internal tables, what's happening here? Data loading and fetching both are going to happen on top of your BigQuery storage only. This is the way we can understand in detail about what is the external table and what is the internal table. Okay. Now, from the beginning onwards, multiple people are asking what are the advantages of external table, what are the advantages of internal table, and now we'll try to understand that information. See here.
Sir, one doubt.
People who are not talking, can you please go on mute? Yeah, please ask the question.
Yeah. So sir, what does BigQuery storage means in BigQuery? Is it a data warehouse?
See, within the BigQuery, they are giving the feature called as a storage, which is nothing but internally they are going to maintain the hard disk, we can able to say, or internally they are going to maintain some kind of storage locations, and in those storage locations, what will happen? Our data is going to storage. Okay. Now, in the tomorrow session, we are going to discuss about the architecture of the BigQuery. So far we're discussing what is BigQuery, how we are working in the BigQuery, right? In the tomorrow session, we are going to discuss about the architecture of the BigQuery. In the architecture, we are going to discuss about how compute is going to happen, how storage is going to happen. During this discussion, I will give in detail information about how storage is happening internally, how compute is happening internally. At present, try to understand what is the meaning of BigQuery storage. internally it is going to store all the data into the hard disk, or it is going to store all the data into the storage location. Just to try to understand this small statement for today's session. In that tomorrow session, when we are going to discuss about the architecture, there I will discuss in detail about how compute is happening internally, how storage is happening internally. With that, you can get the clear picture about what is meant by BigQuery storage. Is it clear?
So
No.
that means when we creating the data set, we are routing the locations, right? That is the storage, right?
Exactly. That's the location.
Okay.
Okay, but don't worry only. So in the tomorrow session, when discussing about the architecture, I will cover these 2 points in the very detailed way, because above also given the statement in the BigQuery we are having the compute, in the BigQuery we are having the storage. But what is the compute? What is the storage? How it is working internally in the BigQuery? To understand all these things, we are covering one more topic called as a architecture of BigQuery. In this session, you can understand how compute is working internally, how storage is working internally in the very detailed way. Okay. Yep. Now see, we'll try to understand. Performance of internal and external tables by considering below factors. So from the beginning onwards, some people are asking, when we are going to create the external table, it is going to occupy the data. So it is going to have the data only in the GCS. But what about the internal table? When we are going to create the internal table, are you trying to get the answer, Andy? So we'll go one by one. First one, why creation of internal table? This is fast operation or slow operation?
Fast.
Understand the question, try to give the answer. I am asking the question, while creation of the internal table, this is the fast operation or slow operation?
Fast
operation.
fastly.
Fast operation.
I will say this is slow. Why? I am giving the answer, this is slow operation. Any guesses? As part of internal table, what's happening?
We need to give
Data
the
is loading into the BigQuery storage. And what is happening here? Data is loading into the BigQuery storage. Now see, for example, while creation of external tables. Tell me, are we loading any data into the BigQuery in the external table? No, right? Now tell me, by considering the loading the data into the BigQuery storage, not loading the data into the BigQuery storage, where it will perform the operation very fastly, while creation of the table, I'm asking, not for fetching. So we can able to say, while creation of the internal table, this is the fast operation or slow operation. I'm asking, what is the answer here? We can able to say answer is slow. Okay. Now coming to while creation of the external table, this is fast operation or slow operation? This is the fast operation. I will give the reason also, Randy, just for our understanding perspective. What is the reason? Here, table need to create, and also data need to load into BigQuery storage. To load the data into the BigQuery storage, it will take some extra amount of time. And for that reason, while creation of the internal table, what I'm saying here, it is slow compared to the external table creation. Now, what I'm telling here, while creation of the external table, this is the fast operation in the database system. What is the reason? Here, table need to create, but data loads won't happen in BigQuery storage. If data loads are not happening into the BigQuery storage only, then will it take the more amount of time? No, right? That's the reason, by considering the statement here, we are going to say, while creation of the internal table, it is the slow operation in the BigQuery. While creation of the external table, it is the fast operation on top of your BigQuery system. Okay. Now I will repeat the same questions one more time. Tell me, while fetching data from internal table, while spelling mistake, while fetching data from the internal table, is it a fast operation or slow operation in the BigQuery? While fetching data from the internal table, this is the fast operation or slow operation? Just focus on this line only.
Fast operation.
This is fast. What's the reason?
Data
As part of retrieving the data from the internal table, retrieving, which is nothing but we are fetching it, and where we are having the data? In the BigQuery storage only we are having the data. By using the BigQuery window, by using the BigQuery, and you are retrieving the data from the BigQuery storage only. For that reason, what will happen? Here data retrieval is very fast. But what about the external table? This is low. What is the
Data is
reason?
outside. Data is outside.
BigQuery need to connect to the external system. From the external system, it need to fetch the data. That data again need to display in the BigQuery, and to perform all these operations, what will happen? It will take more amount of time compared to the internal table. That's the reason here we can able to say while fetching the data, internal tables are fast. While loading the data, external tables are fast. Okay, this is the difference we need to understand. Here I will mention that. Here, table data directly we are fetching from BigQuery storage. What comment to here? Here, table data we are fetching from external system or external service. External service or external sources, anything. That's the reason what is going to happen. While fetching the data from the external table, it is going to provide the low performance, but while fetching the data from the internal table, it is going to provide the fast performance. And so this is the way we need to understand in what situation, what kind of table is going to provide the best performance and what kind of table is going to provide the bad performance. Okay. Now tell me here one by one, we go here and coming to cost effective data storage, which table is going to provide the cost effective?
Internal.
External is going to fast.
I am asking from the cost perspective.
External.
Cost effective
External.
data storage, what type?
External.
I will say external
External.
table. Any guesses? What's the reason?
Because
Now, if you are going to maintain
hit
it as an internal table, what is going to happen? For example, I am creating GCS internal table. Just assume that I am creating GCS internal table. In this situation, where and where we need to maintain the data? In the GCS, we need to maintain the data. In the internal, in the BigQuery storage also, we have to maintain the data. Indirectly, you are going to maintain the duplicate data. Now tell me what is going to happen. GCS said they will charge the money.
BigQuery also.
And BigQuery storage also will charge the money. So with that, what is going to happen automatically? You need to pay the more money compared to our normal option. And for that reason, if you are going to create the GCS internal table, here we need to pay the more money. Okay. Now, for example, I am not creating the GCS internal table. I am creating it as a normal internal table. Now, in how many places we need to maintain the data?
Only one
place we need to maintain the data. Now, in which place we are maintaining the data?
BigQuery.
In the BigQuery storage. Now tell me, here are we maintaining any duplicate data?
No.
No, right? Now tell me here, can we able to say this is the cost wise, is it good or bad?
Yes.
Still I can able to say cost wise it is bad because compared to GCS storage cost, BQ storage cost is more. Okay. So please try to understand this statement, Andy. Compared to the GCS storage cost, BigQuery storage cost is more. That's the reason if you are going to create the internal table, what is happening here? Your data is loading only into the BigQuery storage. But if you want to do the same operation by using the external table, what is going to happen? Your data is storing only in the GCS system. Now, compared to these two options, what we can able to say, external table is the cost effective compared to the internal table, because internal table storing the data in the BigQuery storage. BigQuery storage cost is more compared to the GCS storage cost. And by considering that here, what we are saying from the cost effective perspective, we can able to say external table is giving the best performance. Our external tables will give more advantage. Any confusion on this statement? Please ask me here. From the cost effect, I'm not talking anything about the performance effective only. I'm talking from the only cost perspective. From the cost perspective, what we can able to say, external tables will give the more advantage compared to the internal tables. Any question?
Sir,
yeah.
Sir, actually the GCS and BigQuery, both we are charging, right? But here only we are charging internal only, but how it's bad?
Okay, now see, for example, good question. Now I'm going to create the GCS external table. Okay, and I'm creating one normal internal table. Now tell me, compare these both. Here we are talking about the GCS internal table. That's the reason here we are having the data in the duplicate way only. But within the GCS table, what is the one more option you are having? GCS external table. Now, as part of GCS external table, where this data is storing?
GCS.
Data is storing only in GCS storage. Comment here. Data is storing
Go
only in
BigQuery.
BigQuery storage.
BigQuery.
Now
Yeah.
tell me, here we are talking about the external table. Here we are talking about the internal table, where it is going to give the cost effective. This is the one.
GCS.
What's the reason?
Yes, correct.
I am telling that in the GCS storage, you are going to get the good cost only by considering the GCS external table. I am saying that external tables are
Okay.
going to give the better advantage compared to the internal table.
Okay, got it.
It's clear, right? Okay,
Yeah.
nice. Okay. Now next one, tell me, when you are going to maintain the data lakes or when we are going to maintain the archival data, then which is going to provide the best performance or which is the advantage, not performance only, which is the advantage, which one is going to give the advantage, external table or internal table? What is meant by data lake as we discussed earlier? The simple words we can able to say, if we are going to maintain all the data in GCS storage, that system, we can call it as data lake. But for data lake, we are having some other definitions also, Randy. But as part of previous classes, I given a normal definition, simple definition. What I'm telling here, whenever we are going to maintain all the data in the GCS storage, that kind of system, simply we can able to call it as a data lake. Here, what I'm asking, from the data lakes perspective or archival data perspective only, which table is going to give the advantage? Tell me what is the meant by archival data, if you remember. While creation of GCS buckets,
Classes.
we discussed about one topic called as a storage class.
Yes.
We discussed about storage classes. What are the different types of storage classes we are having?
Standard,
Standard,
nearline, cold line,
nearline,
Standard.
code line,
Nearline,
code line,
cold line,
archival data.
as one is archival. When we need to go for standard?
Daily, if you are using data.
Don't
daily.
ask me again what is standard, what is
Frequently.
nearline. When we discussed Sunday, we discussed about all these topics in the very detailed way. What is the purpose of storage class? To define how frequently we are accessing the data, we are given the option called as a storage class. Coming to standard, when we are giving, if you want to access the data frequently, we need to go for standard. Nearline,
monthly one.
coming to cold line, quarterly or 6
Quarterly.
Archival is nothing but yearly
Not
once a day. By
using
depending
more
on the
than
requirement,
1
here
year.
we are going to select the standard or nearline or cold line or archival. Now tell me indirectly where we are going to maintain the archival data. In the GCS buckets only, we are going to maintain the archival data. Now, by considering this, whenever you want to maintain the data in the data lakes or you are having all the data in the archival system, then which kind of tables are going to give the better advantage compared to external and internal tables?
External.
Here also we can able to say external tables will give more advantage. What's the reason? Already you are having all the data in the GCS in the data lakes, or already you are having archival data in the GCS. Already if you are having the data in the GCS, what we can do here, instead of creating it as an internal table, directly we can create it as a external table. That's the reason here also we can able to say comparatively external table will give the more advantage compared to our internal table. Okay. Now in the same way, what is meant by data sharing and collaboration? Any guesses? What is meant by data sharing? For example, you are having some data. I want to access same data in different projects. What is the requirement here? I want to access the same data in the different projects, or what is meant by collaboration? Here also we can able to say multiple projects are going to work on same data. But tell me, is there any difference between both the statements, Andy? Data sharing or collaboration, both are nothing but indirectly same only. In the both the situations, what's happening here? We are sharing the data across the multiple projects only. When you want to share the data across the multiple projects, then which tables are going to give the advantage? External table or internal table?
Data sharing.
Tell me, in the GCS, what is happening? We are maintaining all the data in the objects format. But coming to BigQuery storage, how we are maintaining the data?
Tabular format.
Are we maintaining or Google GCP itself they are maintaining? GCP itself they are maintaining the data, which is nothing but we don't know internally how data is maintaining. Now tell me, without knowing how we are maintaining the data internally, can we able to share the same data to the other projects? It is not possible, right? If you don't know how internally we are going to manage the data, in the situation, it would be difficult to share the data to the other projects only. For that reason, whenever we are having the requirement to deal the same data across the multiple projects only, that we can call it as a data sharing or collaboration. If same data need to use by multiple projects or multiple people, such kind of operation we can able to call it as a data sharing and collaboration operation. In that kind of situation also we can able to say external table will give more advantage compared to the internal table, because in the internal table data is storing in the BigQuery storage. You don't know how internally data is managing in the BigQuery storage only. But coming to external table, you know all the data whatever we are maintaining in the bucket. Who is uploading the data? You yourself is uploading all the data in the files format. That's the reason compared to the internal table, external tables are going to give the more advantage as part of data sharing or as part of our data collaboration operations. Okay. Now in the same way, what about real-time data ingestion? What is meant by real-time? Any guesses? It's a kind
Online
of a streaming data. Just I will give a simple example only. If anyone is doing the stock market, trading in stock market. Now tell me if you are doing the trading in the stock market only, whatever the data we are getting, that is the streaming data or batch data.
It's a streaming data, live
Every
data.
second your stock price is going to change because of multiple reasons. And if you, for example, if you take the Reliance stock, now it is showing, for example, 1,000 rupees. Within seconds it can become as a 1,005 rupees. Within seconds it can display it as a 1,600, which is nothing but in the stock market. What is happening here? Your stock values are changing in the very short intervals of time. That data we are going to get. So that kind of data we can able to call it as a streaming data. Or for example, you are going to use the social media platforms. For example, Twitter. Now tell me from the Twitter, whatever the data we are getting, that is the streaming data or that is a kind of a batch data. This also we can able to call it as a streaming data, because within seconds so many people are going to apply post so many tweets only. So that's the reason your social media platform data also we can able to call it as a streaming data. But what is meant by batch data?
Group of data loading at single time.
Data loading at particular intervals of time. What is the meaning of particular intervals of time? Either daily once your data will load, or you are going to get the data daily once, or weekly once, or monthly once, or quarterly once. Okay, your data is going to get either weekly once or monthly once or quarterly once only. So that kind of data we can able to call it as a batch data. What about the streaming data here? If you are going to get the data within the very short intervals of time, that kind of data only we can able to call it as a streaming data, or we can able to call it as a real-time data. Now tell me here, our question is, as part of dealing with the real-time data, what kind of tables are going to provide the best advantage? Here also I can able to say external tables will give the more advantage, because within the seconds or within the minutes only your data is changing only. And if you are maintaining all such kind of data in the GCS system, then no need to load the data into the BigQuery storage. By considering that, we can able to say when we are dealing with the real-time data, external tables are going to provide the more advantage compared to the internal tables, because every seconds or every minute we need to load the data. If you want to load the data into the BigQuery storage, what will happen? It will take more amount of time. Instead of that, if you are going to maintain all the real-time data in the GCS files, what will happen? No need to load the data on the regular intervals of time. And by considering that, we can able to say whenever you want to deal with the real-time data, external tables are given the more advantage compared to our internal tables. Okay, but tell me, here we are discussing about more advantage on top of the external table. But what is the one of the bad advantage on the external table? What is the biggest disadvantage when we are dealing with the external table? One biggest disadvantage. So here so far we discussed about 4 options. For all these 4 options, external table is given the best advantage only. But there is one reason we are not using the external tables in some situation. What is that main reason?
We must maintain
performance and query optimization. When you are considering the performance, if you remember earlier also we discussed, whenever you want to fetch the data, which type of table is given the best performance? Your internal table, because internal table is retrieving directly data from the BigQuery storage. It is not depending on the external service only. If you are considering the performance and query optimization, then what we can able to say here? We can able to say internal tables are going to provide better advantage compared to the external table. So here, internal tables are going to provide the best advantage from the performance perspective. When performance is coming into the picture, whenever you are trying to run the queries or whenever you are trying to retrieve the data from the system, then performance is coming into the picture. By considering the performance and query optimization, we can able to say internal tables are going to provide the more advantage. Okay. Now, in the same way, whenever you want to deal with the complex data structures, Andy, if you remember, when we are creating the table, we saw one option called as repeated. At high level, we discuss what is meant by repeated. If you want to deal with the kind of array type data, so we'll discuss about repeated detail in the coming classes only. But day before yesterday, we saw one option called as a repeated. What is the meaning of repeated? There we are going to maintain the array type of data. Now tell me, coming to array is a kind of a simple data type or complex data type? Array is the one of the complex data type only. Whenever you want to deal such kind of complex data types or whenever you want to deal the complex data structures only, then we can able to say internal tables will give the more advantage. In the same way, as part of data integrations, internal tables will give the more advantage. As part of data privacy and security, we can able to say internal tables will give the more advantage. So what is meant by data integration? Any idea? Data integration or ETL. Now, for example, in the GCS, I am having the data. Now, on top of this data, my business team want to perform analysis. Just assume that here in the GCS, I am having the data only. Now, on top of this data, my business team want to perform the analysis. But tell me here, whatever the data business team want to perform, they are going to do the analysis on the raw data or they are going to perform analysis on the summarized data. As a business people, generally, they will do analysis on summarized data. Okay. But coming to GCS, what we are going to maintain in general, we are going to maintain the raw data. In the GCS, we are going to maintain the raw data. Now, whatever the raw data we are having, this data we need to convert it as a summarized data. Now, tell me, as part of this operation, what operations we are performing? In the GCS, we are having the raw data. Now, I want to convert this raw data into the summarized format. Why you want to convert the raw data into summarized format? For the purpose of doing analysis. Who is going to perform the analysis only? Our business team is going to perform the analysis. Here my requirement is indirectly, I want to convert the raw data into the summarized format. Now here, indirectly, what operations we are going to perform? Any guesses? I will say extraction, transformation, and loading operation. Why we are calling it as extraction, transformation, and loading operation? First step, you need to extract the raw data from the GCS. After extraction, what's the next step? We need to convert this raw data into the summarized format. That activity we can call it as a transformation. After that, we need to load the summarized data. On top of the summarized data, my end user is going to perform the analysis only. That only we can able to call it as a ETL operation. Now, if you want to perform the ETL operations, better we need to maintain external tables or internal tables. To perform this kind of ETL operations only, internal tables are advantage compared to the external tables, and that is the statement only I mentioned here. Yeah, this one. Data integration and ETL operations, because as part of ETL operations, what we are doing here, we are applying the transformations on top of the data. Indirectly, you are performing the computing operations or you are performing the data processing operations. Whenever you are going to perform the data processing operation, what we discussed earlier, your internal tables are going to give the best advantage compared to the external table. By considering that, we can able to say as part of doing data integration activities and ETL activities, we can able to say internal tables will give the more advantage. In the same way, coming to data privacy and security also, internal tables will give the more advantage. And what is the data privacy and security? This we'll discuss in the next class. But up to here, any confusions or questions, please ask me. So nothing under here, we're discussing about which tables are given the advantage in what kind of situation. In the first 4 scenarios, we can able to say external tables are going to give the advantage compared to the internal table. What are those 4 scenarios? One is cost-effective data storage, data lakes or archival data, data sharing and collaboration, real-time data ingestion. For all these 4 types of scenarios, external tables are given the more advantage compared to the internal table. And coming to these 4 scenarios, what we can able to say, if you are considering the performance or query optimization, or if you are going to deal with the complex data structure, or if you are going to perform the ETL operations, or if you want to provide the data privacy and security, in such kind of situations, we can able to say internal tables are providing more advantage compared to the external tables. Okay, this is the way we need to understand when we need to go for external tables and when we need to go for the internal tables. Okay, so today we discuss about overall. Just I want to give the quick summary. What we discussed today. One is how to create drive tables. Second one we discussed about what is internal tables, and third one is we discussed about what is external tables, and last one we discussed about what kind of tables we need to use based on scenario. At high level, just we discuss about the only 4 topics only, but we spend more time on the internal table, we spend more time on the external table for our detailed understanding, because without understanding these 2 topics in detail, you cannot able to get the proper process as part of interviews, and you cannot able to understand in the real-time perspective also. That's the reason we spend most of the time on the what is internal table and what is the external table. And we discuss one more topic, which type of table falls under internal table and external table. So these are all the topics we covered as part of our class. So actually earlier I told you only after completion of each and every class, please summarize what we discussed in that class. With that, what will happen? So actually, if you think about all these topics, whatever we discuss, all these things, you will get a lot of confusion. Instead of thinking about all the topics, please summarize it. Okay. At the high level, what we discussed. At the high level, what we discussed about how to create the drive table. At the high level, we discussed about internal table. At the high level, we discussed about the external table. At the high level, we discussed about what type of tables falls under either internal table or external table. Then we discussed about what are the different types of scenarios we need to deal with, what kind of table. If you can able to prepare this kind of summary, then you won't get any kind of confusion. After completion of each and every class, please create this kind of summary. With that, you can able to easily recollect what we discussed as part of our classes. Is it clear? Okay. Just I want to tell you quickly 2 things. One is from August 16th onwards, we are starting communication skill classes. This is from 10:30 to 11:30. Okay, so we are not swapping any our classes only. Our class will complete by 10 or 10:15. After that, from 10:30 to 11:30, you need to attend your communication skill classes. My suggestion is all non-IT people and non-experienced people, please try to attend these classes. It's my sincere session, sincere request only. If you are confident about your communication skills, your wish, I won't say compulsory you have to join this classes, because we are giving this free of cost as part of our JYP program. If you remember earlier, we discussed only as part of JYP program, we are going to have the 8 hours of classes. Out of 8 hours, I said that in the demo also I told you this information. 3 to 4 hours you are having classes. Remaining time you need to perform the practice. Okay, so from my side I can able to say I am taking the classes around 3 to 4 hours, but I'm not sure from your side how much you are doing the practice Sunday. But from my side, I am taking the classes either 3 to 4 hours by depending on my availability. From the August 16 onwards, what is happening here? We are adding the one more class that is for communication skills Sunday. 10:30 to 11:30 you are going to have this class. If you want, please try to utilize these classes. They will cover all the things which are related to the communication skills. Okay, and tell me if you want to get the job, what kind of skills are required? Only communication skills? All right. You should have technical skills. You should have analytical skills. Third one, you should have the communication skills to get the job. After getting the job, if you want to survive in the real-time industry or in the real-time projects only, then what kind of skills are required in the IT industry?
Technical and
in IT industry, which skills are going to play very important role?
Communications.
Technical and common.
You can able to say communication skills. Because in IT industry, so many people are there without having any technical knowledge, but they are going to get the good hikes and good ratings based on because of what? Because of the good communication skills. Simply they will go in front of the leads or they will go in front of manager. They will use a posh language or they will use the posh kind of English, and with that leads and managers will think that he is doing very good job, but at the ground level he won't do any kind of work because he is not having any kind of technical skills. But because of having the good communication skills, what is going to happen? You can able to communicate very properly with your lead. You can able to communicate very properly with your management. With that, what will happen? Easily we can able to survive in the real time. If you want to get the job, technical skills and communication skills both are going to play the very important role. But if you want to survive in the real time industry, what is the main thing it is going to play? And communication skills are going to play very, very important role. For example, you know all GCS concepts, you know all BigQuery concepts in depth level, but you don't have the proper communication skills. As part of Scrum meetings or as part of our daily meetings, and your team lead is asking the question, what kind of work you did in the yesterday to today, till today, what kind of work you completed? You worked for 12 hours, but you are unable to express in front of your lead or manager what is the kind of work you did because of not having the communication skills, and then automatically what will happen? Your lead and manager will think that you haven't done any kind of work. With that kind of impression, you are going to lose the job also. That's the reason communication skills are going to play very, very, very important role in our IT industry. That's the reason my suggestion, my sincere request, please try to attend these communication skill classes. For example, if you are thinking I am very good in the communication skill, if you want, you can skip it, Andy. But my sincere suggestion for non-IT people and non-experienced people, please try to attend these communication classes. And this we are starting from the August 16 onwards. Okay. Okay, then that's all for today, Andy. And we are having the class next class at 11:30. So please plan according, not 11:45. At 11:30 we are having the next class. Okay. Okay, then we'll meet you tomorrow in the 11:30 class. Sorry.